She has back pain because of the work she's doing. She has had breast, I think she's a lot that sleeps like 2 nights, like for 2 hours, 3 hours, she will sleep like from 7 to 8, and then 9:30 to like 11. Those were the hours she would sleep. And I spent a full year with her when I was a newcomer, and I saw this kind of work, and it was really fulfilling. And I was like, you know what, why not take up at this part of the load from Christopher? Because tailored support to Black immigrants is very important. When they categorize us as Black, as refugees and immigrants, it's very important for us to receive holistic support to immigrants, because my needs are different from another group, because all of us, we have specific needs and we really need specific requirements on integration. I must say, she has done her part. She deserves her flower. And together with my friends, a team of a group of people, Alex Ahawe, Sandra Ashava, Sarat, Aiden, Abubeka, me and Abubeka, Aiden, my good friend here, Sadiq. I really hope Florence, Spessy, all these people came together to come up with a small token for you, my dear. It's less to what you really deserve, honestly. But you fed us a number of times without us saying anything. She used to get her money, and she's a good cook. We would eat food and eat food and eat food, and there is no day she told us, please contribute to this food. We ate this food, and we're like, you know what, Christopher cooks too much. So probably something like this would save her from the time she's cooking, so that probably she would spend much more time doing more work that is really required, because things are not worsening, but they are work in progress. And a round of applause. I could say too much about African Center, because it's one of the classes I went through first, and I'm so glad that you're emotional, because you deserve all the flowers. And I feel each and every person in this room celebrate people while they have done something good for your life. Do not forget. Some of us were done with I reached out to very many people, and everyone I was reaching out to, them were like, oh my God, Christopher? Yes, Christopher did this to me. If we come up with testimonies, it will turn into a testimony day, not a Newcomers conference. So, on behalf of myself, Alex Ahawe, who is in the room, Baker, and Sadiq, plus the other 9 fellas that got together for this, we really want to thank you, Christopher. We are social workers, communications, TBSD teacher. Alex Ahawe is a bank manager. Sandra is a social worker somewhere. One of our friends is a nurse. One of our friends works with a TTC. All these groups came from the African Center. We came here, we didn't know anything. And we are very glad that in our lineage, at least we are also supporting other people. I am a journalist, I speak too much, so thank you, people. Thank you, Christopher.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And I see my people, I have stopped so many deportations, and I'm seeing my colleagues here. Thank you so much for turning out. I was worried the entire week that I would not even make 80 people here. But I'm so very much grateful. Thank you so much. I love you so much.
Okay. Well, you can all have your seats. It goes without saying that Christopher is an amazing person, and whoever's had a chance to know her, we are very privileged and very lucky. At this moment, because we are running a little bit short of time, we have another panel, and our dear moderator, who is Shaquita. I hope I pronounced that right. I'll hand over to you.
Hello. It is very hard to follow that. I just want to say, Christopher, you are such a gift. Thank you for all you do and all of the seen and unseen things. I'm so excited about this new strategic plan. I'm looking forward in all the ways that community can rally around and support. And with that, we have some amazing panelists, and so I will invite folks up as they're coming. If we can welcome our panelists to the stage. So if you're part of the panelists, please come on down. I'm gonna just pull up so we know. Wonderful. And as our panelists are coming, I'm gonna ask you to join us on the stage. And I'm going to ask you to introduce yourselves and talk a bit about the work that you do.
Thank you so much. Hi everyone. What an inspiring event. It's all new to me. I've heard of the African Center for Refugees, but I did not know how it started, how you're getting the funding. Congratulations on the strategic planning. It's inspiring. Wishing you all the best of luck in the next 100 years. My name is Rola Hamdan. I am a paralegal and a community legal worker with Willowdale Community Legal Services. We're not downtown, we're North York, part of North York. I'm going to be talking about the community legal clinics in Ontario and what services we provide. I'm going to be talking a little bit about our office, in particular, Willowdale Community Legal Services, and then I will talk about legal aid and what services they provide. And I'll be happy to answer questions as well. Thank you.
Okay, hello everybody. And as everybody's been saying, and I'll echo, it's been an amazing day, an amazing morning so far, learning so much about the organization and all that, all the services that you have to offer. And my name is Joy Smith, and I am from Access Employment. I'm going to be talking today a little bit about our services, what we offer, and also what we do. I'm looking around the room and I've seen some of our clients that have had the pleasure of working with at Access, so very excited to take questions as well. All right.
Hi everyone, my name is BJ. I'm coming from TNO, the neighborhood organization. I'm a mental health caseworker, so I'd like to keep it short. As we all know, this panel is going to be addressing different areas of mental health, and we do know that, referring to the previous speech that Mr. Ranjan was mentioning about the systemic violence that we experience because of our multiple identities and intersectionalities. It's important for us to address how it affects us, and maybe hopefully this would be the place for that discussion. Also, I'd like to let everyone know that this is also going to be a safe and respectful space to talk about your mental health or just to talk about any of your concerns. Thank you for coming out today. Thanks.
And we have one more panelist, Ballista Blessing. If you can come on down to the stage, and I'm going to ask us to shift over one more chair. And so, you know, as Ballista is coming to the stage, really this conversation is around understanding the impact of legal social services and employment and how it impacts our mental health. Hi, Ballista. And so, as we're all kind of really anchoring ourselves, would you love to introduce yourself?
So hi everybody, and thank you so much for having me. My name is Ballista Blessing. I'm the head of litigation and the head of immigration with Loops Legal 401 Bay Street. And I'm very happy to be here. I want to say thanks to Christopher and everybody that hosted me. This is my second time here. I truly appreciate every one of you, and I'm going to go with your questions in this panel. Thank you so much.
All right, excellent. So, you know, as we're anchoring this conversation around the intersections of legal supports and how that also plays into the intersections of mental health and employment, can folks share with us a bit about what are some of the barriers towards navigating the complex legal system of entering a new country, and just share some highlights as to how you've been supporting folks through your work to be able to do so as an entry point.
Thank you so much. I would agree with that word, the complex legal system. It is strikes law that when you get into a new country, you do not understand anything going on. It looks complex, but when you know how to dialogue, when you ask questions from the right set of persons, you are well enlightened and you are not thrown off balance. I've met a lot of migrants that will tell me, my friend told me this. When I ask the friend will say, my friend told me. But at the end of the day, you do not pinpoint the exact source of the information. So my advice would be asking questions from the right people. Talking about the legal system, coming in as a migrant, you have an easy flow to get a legal aid certificate. But it's pertinent to note that people misuse this because they don't understand the essence of the certificate and what it is all about. So today, I'm sorry, I'm going to be busting your bubbles. For legal aid certificate issued for your claim, your asylum claim, the first number of hours that is given to your lawyer is just 9 hours. And so when you go to your lawyer's office to say hi, you just greet her without saying anything reasonable that navigates to your case. You've just spent a particular time from your hours. And these hours includes your BOC filling, checking your narratives, uploading your documents. So when you consistently go there without useful information, your hours are running. That's why most times the lawyers get frustrated and they don't want to get back to you. So learn how to minimize your timing, knowing that you have just 9 hours to prepare for your case. The other 9 hours is for your hearing and the preparation. So when you know how to manage this timing, get useful and resourceful information from the right sources, I believe you'll be able to manage with the legal system and it's not going to be complex.
Thank you. Such great points. Yes, get your information from professionals. At Willowdale Community Legal Services, we have a good relationship with the 4 refugee shelters. Not all of them are refugees. 4 shelters in our catchment area. So we have, they know, people who run these shelters, they know about us. They know about our services. If someone comes up to them and asks a question, they know where to refer this person. We work with TNO, we work with Access Employment, we have amazing relationship with many service providers in the community. And we work in collaboration with them. So if you come to us, you have a legal question, and I need to mention that community legal clinics, we do not serve clients filing refugee claims. What we do, and those who does immigration, who practice immigration, what they do is after the person is protected in Canada or found to be a convention refugee, they can come to us. We help with the application for permanent residence. We help with an application for work permit or study permit. And then application for citizenship or PR card renewal. The refugee claim is legal aid, and as our friend said, it's through a certificate. And yes, you have certain number of hours. Get your story together, write it down, write down dates. When you come to us to apply for PR, we look at your refugee claim documents. We don't want to submit something that's different than what you submitted in the claim. So sometimes people forget dates, especially if they're crossing the borders and filing a claim. They're very stressed, they're under pressure. We are human beings. We forget dates, we forget few things. But when you get inside Canada and you settle, write down your story. Write it down before you meet with your lawyer to put together your basis of claim. I'm going to stop here, but we can talk more about the services that we provide and how we can help refugees.
Before I start, I also wanted to just casually begin and ask the crowd, how many of you here, show of hands, so how many of you here have heard the term legal aid certificate? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can count them in 2 hands. Sure. How many of us here have gone to a legal aid clinic or approached a lawyer for immigration related concerns? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I see 1 hand over there. Okay, 5 of us. And another thing I wanted to ask is, how many of us who have come to Canada, I myself am an immigrant as well, so how many of us who've come to Canada and experienced confusion around all the immigration processes, like what is this, what are my rights, what am I doing, am I in the wrong, whom do I go talk to? So have you had these questions pop up? If you have, show of hands. Yeah, I see more hands now, a lot of tables, a lot of people are raising hands. That's what I want to address. I also want to address this because personally, coming to Canada as an immigrant, I just knew whatever I would think or whatever information I knew came from hearsay, people I was talking to, like friends, whatever they were aware of, or some basic internet searches. But having understood or having accessed different social services within Canada, I've come to know that there's so much support out there, and there is that barrier, meaning the link between the people who are in need, who are looking for answers, and the people, like they mentioned, the professionals who could give those answers. The barrier was between these two folks getting connected. So I want to address that today, and I know that we will be addressing that throughout the panel, but I want to set the stage for us to become aware of, well, we all have the same concerns, we all have the same questions, but we don't know where to go. So what is step 1? Where do we get started? And once you know that, you could be that person who's minimizing that barrier for other newcomers that come to Canada. So you could be that friend that tells them, oh, you have an immigration question. Maybe go to Willowdale, you have an immigration question. There is this African Refugees Center in Ontario, in Canada, in Toronto that you could go to who could answer your question. So maybe I want to address that we all have questions, but we don't know where to go, and there are opportunities, there are people that can help us. Maybe today, bring your curiosity and ask us questions as well. So maybe we will start from, square one and answer those questions.
Okay, that's okay. So thank you for that. I think that was really helpful in setting the context around, legal aid certificate. And so before we talk about the systems and go broad, let's actually just walk through the steps, around entering. What are some of the first things if I'm navigating just fresh out of Pearson? Where do I go? Who do I turn to?
So this is a very important question, and I had this to share. I had this in mind to share when I get here, because this is something that has really, really engrossed a lot of immigrants and has made them have minister's intervention. I get a lot of calls from people who have minister's intervention. It makes their cases more complex. At times the minister intervenes and gives a reason for intervention. Most of the times it is based on credibility. There's something I want to try as much as possible in my years of practice and experience in immigration to break down so you understand that most times you are not being marginalized. The truth or the fact remains that you just imputed 3 wrong informations. First of all, when you are applying for visa, you put in informations. When you get to the airport, an immigration or the CBSA comes to you, they ask you a question. That is your POE, your point of entry note. They ask you, why are you in Canada? You give a different reason. And when you seek your asylum, you submit your BOC and your basis of claim, you give a different reason. So there's a process that has been introduced, they call it the ICAC rule. What does this mean? When you seek asylum, the immigration merges with the CBSA. That is your first step or the first stage when you get into Canada at Pearson Airport. You meet with the CBSA. So the information you give to the CBSA, they correlate it, they take it, and they compare it with the information you used while you were filling your visa application. Even if you have filled visa applications to the US, don't forget they don't throw that out. Then at the end of the day, when you submit your basis of claim, they compute these three informations. They see the omissions. I don't want to use the word lies. They see the omissions, the irregularities. So they sit down and they type you a letter that the minister is intervening. They give you reasons. So my advice for every newcomer when you step down at Pearson Airport, if you're lucky you don't meet with the CBSA, that is fine. Get to any of the organization that will lead you to a professional. Avoid mingling and meeting and missing information from people. It is very, very dangerous. Then after that, get to the legal aid. Most times when you go to lawyers, like I said, the legal aid hours are limited, and I want you to know that compared to what lawyers get, I know you wouldn't like this, but that's the fact. Compared to what I would get naturally from a client that is paying off pocket, the legal aid is very minute. But it's the way that we give back to the community. So you have to be in the roster. So when the lawyer is telling you, I don't take legal aid, it's possible the lawyer is not in the roster, and there's nothing the lawyer can do about it. So at times when you go to the lawyer and you say you want to do a legal aid, a lawyer can help you apply for a legal aid certificate. They apply for the certificate, and please just minimize the time. It's so small. So my advice to every newcomer, talk less. Don't talk so much when you are before a CBSA because you make mistakes. Check your forms. Do not tell your friend to go through your forms. You know your stories. I don't know your stories. Don't tell somebody, get me a story, get me a narrative. If you want to do that, it's at your own detriment. So just get to professionals. If not a lawyer, like she said, they are community legal aid, get to them, they will do a better reference. Because it is better you call the disaster ahead of time. Once the minister intervenes, it becomes a complex issue. I'm not saying you don't get through it, you get through it, God's willing, but it becomes more complex than it would have been. Because the refugee claim now is becoming tight, and there are a lot of measures that has been brought in, so we should take these things and try intelligently and asking the right set of persons questions. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. She's giving you amazing tips. Take it down. I want to add that there is an office called the Refugee Law Office. It's funded by Legal Aid Ontario. They only do refugee claims. So either you get a legal aid certificate and you hire a private lawyer who does accept legal aid certificates, or you contact the Refugee Law Office and you tell them I need a lawyer, and hopefully they will take your case. They're very busy, especially in the last 2 years. We had an influx of refugee claimants coming to Ontario. So I know they're very, very busy, but I don't think they turn people down. Like either you can get a certificate or you can get somebody to help you from there. And then, yes, get your story together, because you will be asked, you will be questioned about things that you put in the basis of claim at the hearing. You're lucky if there is no hearing, but if there is a hearing, they do ask for clarifications, they do ask you to repeat the story, and everything has to be consistent for a refugee claimant's claim to be successful. I'm gonna stop here.
All right, I think that was really helpful around how do we frame and where are the entry points where we're speaking our stories and needing to be clear. I want to also talk a bit about how trauma plays a role in oftentimes the intersections around credibility and if folks are impacted, because there are so many points of where we know that trauma impacts memory, right? And so I would love to, talk through with folks around what are the intersections around mental health, the intersections around sharing your story, and how should folks be able to get the support that they need when they're having to retell and relive really incredible, intense, traumatic moments. And so who on our panel would like to?
Thank you so much. This is a very intelligent question, and I'm going to be giving you an expo when it comes to this. So for those of you that have not gone for your hearing yet, 5 things to note. Credibility is always an issue. Like when it comes to refugee claim, it is based on the balance of probability, which means you are either lying or you are telling me the truth. Come prove yourself. So when it comes to your refugee hearing before the IRB, there are 5 issues I would want to tell you here that you should expect. Number 1, credibility. Some members are not lawyers, so they depend on what you say and our submissions as lawyers. And trust me, I wouldn't submit anything that I'm not sure of. Whereas I do not have the right to get myself involved in your narrative, your stories, but I have the right to guide you properly and to make sure you are telling me the truth. Like I saw some folks recently, they are proud, they said they were not eligible because they had said they belonged to a particular organization, which wasn't even correct. But the truth is that criminality, they don't accept you here. So if you had gotten proper advice from a right source, you should know that that is not something you deal with. So when you go to your hearing, your identity, some people will tell you, discard your passport, do this, do that. Your identity matters. That is 1. 2, your nexus. When we're talking about nexus, we're talking about the relativity between your narrative and section 96 and 97 of the IPA. The reasons for seeking asylum. You must be this, you must be that, you must be this. That is section 96 and 97. So they're going to check if there's a relationship between your narrative and these sections. They're going to test you on forward-looking risk. You said your house was burning back in Africa, so you came here to seek asylum. So as at the point you are being heard by the IRB, is your house still burning? Is there a forward-looking risk? Then for those of you that are not with, you don't belong to the LGBTQ, maybe your narrative consists of something else. They want to check you so much on the IFA, which is the internal flight alternative. So is there any place you can run to that you'll be safe within your country? Knowing these 5 things, you should be able to tell yourself, I should be able to juggle around this. And I want you to know that talking about mental health, I'm trying to relate it and I'm trying to let you know what you should know first. The hearing is not a memory test. Nobody wants you to come and narrate your story the exact way it is written. Members are human beings, or lawyers are human beings. They know that you can forget some things. They know that you can forget some places. But I don't think it would be wise to forget your date of birth. You say you were born 1962, you are saying 1948 in your hearing. I don't think you should forget a very delicate incident that happened to you that caused you trauma. I don't think you should forget the location. So there are certain things that you shouldn't forget. So if you know you are being anxious, you are stressed up, what I advise you, try read your narrative once in a week, or once a day. When you are very conversant with your narrative, the anxiety drops. And if you have mental health issues, you are mentally stressed, we have resources, psychologists, and the IRB, they take cognizance of this. I've seen some people not going to hearing because of their mental health related issue. They were so anxious and the hearing was waived. And there's a good thing now, most people get these less trained and complex cases and they don't go for hearing. But point to note, you might get that letter and your member would still want to see you for a short hearing. So eat well. Being a refugee claimer doesn't mean you're in prison. Make friends. Digest your stories, know your fact, at least know your story, it is your story. And just take care of yourself, you'll be able to manage the anxiety or any mental stress related to that. Thank you.
I have to say, brilliant answer. I'm gonna add one more thing. Through our practice, if we notice that there is inconsistency between the refugee claim documents and what the client is telling us, or sometimes like the forms and the BOC, we ask clarification from the client. If the client does not have the answers, we send the client to consult with a refugee lawyer. We are not gonna be held liable to submit anything that may hurt you. So we send the client back to talk to the refugee lawyer, clarify these issues, bring us something in writing so we can proceed. So please listen to the tips that she's sharing with you, and go back and ask the lawyer, talk to the people in the shelter. They may know, or they may know something, who knows. Don't just don't take action. Like don't not take action. Take action. Do something and clarify things before you go to a hearing, because at the hearing I would be tense. I would be under pressure, and if I have everything in my mind, I have all the answers. The answers are ready. They're coming easily. I'm not lying, I'm not hiding anything. Why wouldn't I be protected? Why would my claim be denied? So thank you for sharing all the tips. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Those were actually that's a wonderful question, and it's very practical also, and I loved the answers that we were hearing from the panelists. As a mental health professional myself, I want to acknowledge that if someone is here requesting asylum, is a refugee, like the WHO statistic is that someone who has experienced violence and is seeking refuge, like if they are seeking asylum, they are 10 times more likely to develop PTSD. So PTSD is post-traumatic stress, and the post-traumatic stress is basically when you have flashbacks or when you're reliving that difficult experience, right? And it goes to a point where it's uncontrollable and you keep re-experiencing it. When something like that happens, like we were talking about it, it does affect memory and cognition. It affects so many different parts of your mind, right? And you want to be at your sharpest for your hearing. You want to be able to revisit that space. What I want to acknowledge is that revisiting something that's traumatizing, that's difficult, right? And going through it over and over again, especially in a place like a courtroom, is intimidating. I want to acknowledge that it is scary. For someone who's never stepped into a courtroom for any reason, you're in a new country, people look different, they're asking you questions, and they're speaking in an accent that is different from what you are used to. So all of those factors also exacerbate the stress. So circling back to one of the answers that Blessing was talking about, write your story down. As soon as you land, plan, or even before you come out here, if you know someone who's planning to come out here and you're giving them some support, ask them to write and journal their story. Because something that's happening right now, you're gonna ask me tomorrow, I might remember it differently. And each time you access a memory, the memory changes. So it's important that if you're going through something right now, it's important to document it. And you can do it different ways. Some people are good with writing it down. Sometimes you don't want to write it down. Do voice recording as well. Take your phone, record your story in the moment. Say this day, this time, I went through these things happened. And the details and the specific information would be something that you can recollect in the moment, and it might maybe add to your story later on. If you have multiple voice recordings, you can also like transcribe it. Like right now, there are so many different websites that can also help you with that. You don't individually have to transcribe it yourself. So what I wanted to emphasize is documentation is important, and there are different ways you can be creative with it. You can write it down, or you can record your own self talking about your own story. And when you maintain that documentation for a while, it helps create that narrative. And even if you can't explain your story again, like maybe revisiting that story is painful, you can always show your journal, you can show your document to your lawyer, or you can play the voice recording. And that helps you stay consistent. So I want to address that it's painful to go back to the same story over and over again, but having that conversation with yourself where you are being kind to yourself, compassionate to yourself, and you're saying, hey, you're going through this, it's difficult, I see you, but we're going to do this one step at a time, one thing at a time, and taking it slow is a great way to be kind to yourself, and that helps reduce the stress with this legal proceedings.
So I'm going to start this next question off with employment, right? And really thinking about, as folks are navigating the system, what are some of the barriers towards accessing legal aid support? But I actually want to start with employment support, because oftentimes we know that foreign credentials are not seen in the same way, and how do folks build a pathway towards integration into Canadian society without actually having financial support. So.
Thank you. Also a wonderful question. I'll start off by saying that one of the biggest barriers to individuals finding sustainable employment is similar to legal aid, which is misinformation. Oftentimes people hear from word of mouth, friend, about how they can access different services and what is available to them. One of the normal misconceptions, or one area, is whether or not these services are free. So Access Employment, as well as a lot of community employment services, we offer services for free for a lot of refugees and asylum seekers. So again, one of the biggest barriers is definitely misinformation. So one of the things that I would urge you to do is always try to go to the source for the information. Access, we have a series of locations across the GTA. We also have a website that has interactive AI operations that allows you to talk to somebody, have a live conversation with somebody, so you know what is accessible to you, what programs would be best suited for you as well. So that's your first step. So your first step is jumping over that hurdle, accessing the service, and then figuring out where do you stand. We all know this wonderful thing that we typically kind of fight with on a regular day called the Canadian work experience. And you will hear it over and over again. You don't have Canadian work experience. You need to have Canadian work experience. But you can shift that narrative. So I'm not sure if you're aware, but recently there was a provincial memo that just got sent out that's reverse, essentially telling employers that they're not allowed to ask for Canadian work experience on job descriptions. However, we all know people have innate biases. So even though that's written on a job description, we still have to get through an HR professional or recruiter who may have those things that are predisposed for themselves. So what we need to do is we need to highlight our experience that we do have here, even though it's not paid experience. So I see a lot of people around the room today, they're volunteering. So you might be saying, oh, I'm just volunteering today. I don't need to put that on my resume. But your volunteer experience here in Canada is your Canadian work experience, and it's how you put that on your resume to sell yourself that really helps you to get your foot into the door. And that's where Access comes in. So our goal is to help you, triage you through the process, and help you step by step, understanding first the Canadian labor market and how different it is from back home. I'm also an immigrant, and one of the first things that I had to break up with when I came to Canada was my resume. So my resume about 5 pages back home, but here you can only have about 2 pages, and even then it's kind of long. So 2 pages of a resume and understanding that you need to fit in all your years of experience, your education, all in those 2 pages, and also learning how to target your resume. So the importance of targeting your resume to different job experience as well. So that's where Access comes in, giving you that information, and we do that through a series of process. We do it through either one-on-one, so we do one-on-one consultation. We get you connected with an employment consultant who's your personal employment consultant that works with you from the day you walked into our service, whether online or in person, till the day you get hired or get a job. And when you do get hired or find employment, we don't leave you. We continue with you for at least a year to ensure that you're retaining that position, because one of the things that is really important to us and also our funders is retention. So we don't want to get you into the door, we want you to stay. So we continue with you along that journey. We also have workshops. So we have lots of employment workshops. So how to build your resume, how to practice your interview skills, how to network, and learning about the network in Canada and how important a network is here in the Canadian labor market. And oftentimes it's actually more important than applying for a job online. So building your network and potentially getting a referral or learning about the hidden job market is really, really, really crucial here in Canada as well. So it's actually who you know and who knows who that can get you a referral as well, not necessarily applying for a job on Indeed, because you're competing with at least thousands of people. So learning about that. So we're able to provide you with that type of information and actually help to debunk some of those myths that you've heard about the Canadian labor market. We also have bridging programs. So Shrika, I think you mentioned certifications and like your foreign credentials. So we have bridging programs that actually allows you to get for Canadian credentials here. Most of the programs, they are free. Some of them come with a very small cost that is often refunded at the end of the program, but it allows you to get certification in different sector. And it is multiple sectors. So if you're from the finance industry back home, you work in the medical sector, you work in construction or trades, all of those industries, we have a bridging program that can help you get certified here in Canada. So while you're waiting for your WES evaluation, if you are going through WES, you can take those certificates, which helps to push you forward in your job search as well.
Let me add something, and maybe you want to have your input as well. Do not work without authorization. Always have a work permit valid before you find a job and start working.
I also wanted to add on maybe highlight some of the services that we have through TNO and similar community organizations. Similar to Access Employment, TNO also has employment services, and it is tiered in a way where it caters to different populations. When I say that, I mean we have people who are on a work permit, we have people who are on a study permit, we have people who are like temporary residents. And then we also have permanent residents, citizens, and refugees. So within the category of refugees also we have those who are refugee claimants and those who have who have received a positive notice of decision. So that would make them a convention refugee. So for those different, under different labels, you would have different services and different service organizations that you can get help from. What I want to say by that is, you might have a different legal residential status, but there is someone to help you despite whatever, no matter what status you have in Canada. Even if you're in the process of acquiring a status, there is still help. So you can look out for that. Also, we have youth employment. So if there's someone, if you're coming as a family and you have a youth with you, like if you have your son, your daughter, a child with you, who is maybe 16 and over, they can also start seeking employability and employable skills. Like we were talking about that earlier too, where you can get volunteering and then your role as a volunteer with an agency can transfer into a part-time or a full-time position. So maybe like back home, volunteering wasn't seen as a big thing, it wasn't given a lot of importance. But in Canada, it's a great stepping stone to acquaint yourself with an organization, the organizational values, and when they see you as a committed staff or a faculty, like if you're being part of the agency and you show commitment to their values and you're bringing the best version of yourself, why would they look far for recruiting a new candidate for a role when they already see you in action and they see what you bring to the agency? So that's a great way to have your foot in the door. I would like to mention that. And I would also like to mention Ontario Works. If someone has gotten their status as a convention refugee, and if you're in the process of applying for permanent residency while seeking asylum, in those stages of work, right, you can also apply to Ontario Works, which is provincially funded, meaning Ontario government funds that. This is a program where you can get some monetary, like financial assistance while you try to find employment. So for that, you would have to be dedicated to seeking employable opportunities, and you would have a caseworker that works with you to identify what are some goals, like which area do you want to work in, what kind of occupation do you want to take up. And also there are like trades programs as well. So trades and trade skills, if you want to work in an industry, like if you want to take up trucking, you want to drive trucks, if you want to do carpentry, want to do plumbing, there are also those special trades programs which are also given importance federally, and there are courses and bridging programs that help you get a break into those industries. I wanted to mention Ontario Works because it offers financial support for a family member or an individual, which covers basic needs, meaning it covers like food, clothing, shelter related, you get an amount every month, and you also get training. So they get all these workshops if you want to attend to increase your certification and increase your knowledge for the Canadian work experience. You can attend those workshops free of cost, which is covered by Ontario Works. So it's just opening up more gateways to whichever industry you would like to break into. Thank you.
All right, I just want to say this has been a really informative conversation, right? Really talking about the necessary ways that we need to fill out our forms and knowing our narrative from the beginning, talking about the employment pieces around how do we do this, what do we need validly, and also looking at Ontario Works or other options as we're navigating. The last piece as we're kind of closing things off is oftentimes there's gaps in the different markets and sectors, right? Oftentimes there's not a connection around mental health support and legal. So what opportunities do you see? Or is there opportunities for collaboration across sectors? Because as we know, people are not showing up as their parts of themselves. All of themselves are showing up in a legal environment, right? The trauma, everything is showing up at your doorstep. You talked about the 9 hours, right? What are some of the steps that folks can take towards building integrative supports? And do those things exist already? If you can speak, and I'm gonna ask folks to do 1 minute because I'm getting the eyes that time is done. So 1 minute to kind of wrap up around collaboration across sectors.
Yeah, sure, thank you so much. So there's something we call the EDI for lawyers, and it means we have to be inclusive, we see a lot of things, we accept people the way they are. So usually what I do, what my office and my team, what we do is that when you come to us and we sense there's an issue, perhaps because of your trauma, we have the ability to refer you. We could tell you, please see a psychologist. I have been in a position where I had to call a family doctor for somebody that came in and was stranded. We can say go to the emergency, but the truth is that we can refer you, but we might not have a major impact there. You have to go with our referrer and just explain yourself, because we are in a different spectrum. I'm not a medical personnel, I'm not a psychologist, I'm a lawyer, so I see your narrative, I see your behavior, because we can talk about capacity. We can see you and like there's something wrong somewhere. So the best we can do is to advise you, go see a psychologist, then we can refer you. So there's inclusion in all these things if you get the right person. Thank you.
It's excellent, Blessing. I would say at Access, employment is who we are, but we're also of the mindset that an individual cannot be their best selves at work if they're not stable in other areas. But we're also mindful of people retelling their stories a million times, because we do understand that, I think one of my colleagues on the stage mentioned PTSD and how often it's plagued within the refugee community, and the importance of not allowing people to retell their stories over and over again because it causes so much trauma. So what we try to do is we try to incorporate what is called wraparound services. So we are employment, but we bring in legal services to do workshops for our clients and help them one-on-one. So we've worked with Willow-Data, we've worked with TNO, we've worked with mental health supports to bring in individuals who can provide the services for our clients at Access, because they already know us, they're comfortable with us, they trust us. So we bring in those services. It takes the barrier of them having to call them, email them, go on a wait list, go to their location. We just bring it right into Access. We do women wellness sessions where we bring in different partners, and the women are there in the group. They're able to have a safe space and also build a community. We've had drumming circles as a part of our wraparound supports. It's very cultural. It's not meant for you to find employment through a drumming circle, but what it's meant to do is build community, and of course helping you build that mental health capacity that you need to job search. Because in order to job search and perform, I know personally, I need to feel well in all the other areas. So we try to make sure that we're having like a one-stop shop. No, we're not expert in those areas, as Wilson says. We're experts in employment, but we know the experts. So we just bring them in. And we have such a really good relationship with community partners. So we just continue to build that through that.
Thank you, amazing. I'm gonna pick on the two words, community and relationship. Know your community, because if we know who's in the community, what services are available in the community, what capacity we have in the community, then we're powerful. Then when a client comes to us with an immigration question, yet we know that they have a child tax benefit issue, or they have a housing issue, or they may have an employment issue. So if it's a legal issue, we can help. Let me grab this opportunity to talk about the services that we provide. So we not only do immigration, we do housing, we help tenants only, not landlords. We do anything that falls under the security, income security, like Ontario Works or Ontario Disability Support Program. We have two TNO settlement workers on site who help apply. But if for a reason your application is denied, then our job comes in to help you with the appeal, to help you to make sure you get the benefits that you applied for if you're eligible. We also do employment and employment insurance. We do anything that falls under the federal benefits, like Ontario, like old age security, guaranteed income supplement, Canada pension plan. We do affidavits. Sometimes you need to put your kid in a daycare. They want to know about your income. You don't have the verification. So you come to us, we help with an affidavit. Sometimes you want to apply for OSAP and you have children. Your partner or the father of the children are not available. You are the sole caregiver of the children. How do you prove that? You come to us. We help you with statutory declaration or affidavit to tell the organization asking for this information that, yes, I am the sole caregiver of this child, they're living with me full time, etc. We also notarize documents and commission documents, and all services are free. If you are low income, we follow Legal Aid Ontario financial guidelines. We're 100% funded by Legal Aid Ontario. And guys, know that no matter where you live in the city, there is a community legal clinic in your catchment area. Across Ontario, we have 72 community legal clinics, of which we have 19 specialty clinics. So we have one for seniors, we have one for Black people, we have one for South Asian, we have one for disabled folks. Wherever you live, in the city, in the province, there is a community legal clinic responsible for your area. Reach out, Google, there is a website where you can put community legal clinics. Google community legal clinics, you get a website, a link, you put your postal code and they tell you which community legal clinic covers your address. Do that. And we have great relationship with service providers in the community. We provide public legal education sessions for free for most of the shelters, food banks, and employment agencies. We sit on networks, so on a monthly basis we meet. We figure out what issues are we seeing among the clients that we serve, and we try to address these issues collectively. So I hope this is helpful.
I will quickly wrap up, and I just wanted to point out how beautifully Shakita had given the answer to her own question by saying, when we appear, we don't come in parts. We bring our whole self, our whole story, and which means that we don't have a problem in one area, that one area affects multiple areas. So what I want to say to everyone is just based on a proverb from back home, the baby that cries gets fed. So if you're going to a caseworker, or if you're approaching a lawyer, if you're approaching any professional, tell them your whole story. Tell them if you think they're a lawyer, they can't help you with housing, they might know someone. So what I'm saying is, when you go and present your story, think of all the areas you'd like to get help with, and it could be employment affecting housing, and that is affecting your mental health. Maybe you don't have a primary health care doctor, there might be different things, but ask for help, and then we can find referrals within the agency and community. So that's what I want to say, which is, if you need help, don't feel shy, bring your whole story, and there will be help. Even if the person is not able to help you themselves, we all work in a close-knit community. We do internal referrals. It sounds like already all the professionals I've heard talk up on stage about their community organizations, they fill the gaps. If one agency is supporting one area, there's someone else doing the other areas. So please feel free to come talk to us over at the DNO table as well, because our agency also has multiple services and we do multiple referrals. So you're connected to professionals for every and all little areas of need and help you need. The whole is bigger than the sum of its parts. So all of you being here today, I want to recognize the immense strength and the power in your stories and in yourself to be here to be part of this. I hope we can create a community similar to this and larger, and provide the support to everyone that requires it. Thank you.
Wow, wonderful. I just want to say thank you to our amazing panelists for sharing deep wisdom, insights, some new information that we oftentimes are, hearing from not the right source. And so I think those were some things. Get it from the source, really look at how we're telling our full stories, writing it down, and really seeking all of the different supports together. So I want to say thank you. It was such a pleasure moderating this panel.
Thank you so much, our panelists. Thank you. We have learned so much today. So next on the agenda, we have our breakout sessions. Folks, you get a chance to ask our panelists questions in the breakout sessions, if you have any. So we're going to separate the room in 2-3 parts. Like you see those big things up there, they're going to come down. So one of the breakout sessions will be on mental health, which is going to be led by the TMO group, and then the other breakout sessions will be on legal aid and legal services, which will be led by Willowdale Community Legal Services. And just to give you a reminder, folks, we have a certificate for every single one of you who is here today to show your participation. So keep around. Okay, so it will take us like 1 or 5 minutes to bring everything down, but just for folks who don't understand English, I'll say this in my own language, which is Luganda. So tugenda kwawula mu ruumu emirundi ebiri, abamu bagenda kubeera eno, abalala bagenda kubeera eno. Mu zino breakout sessions mugenda kubamu three, but the middle one will be empty.